día aquí no quieres ir.
Ya me imaginaba, sí.
¿Tienes horario?
Tengo alargado, pero bueno, me han dicho que con las baterías que tengo.
Porque si quieres yo te dejo uno y si lo usas, cuando abras aquí,
Sí.
te voy a dejar un largo amarillo.
Vale.
Estará enchufado, tú lo traes y cuando lo termines me traes ahí y ya está.
Vale, vale, genial.
Porque seguramente estarás todo el día.
No, en principio yo estoy Documentación, por favor.
A mí me la pueden no dar, pero a ti...
Así está bien tachado, ¿no? Vale, así.
Vais a repetir.
Y la que le ha pedido que no le han llevado bien el correo puede poner aquí.
Luego entonces tengo que firmar eso.
Para que no sienta que le damos el papel.
Se ha constituido todo bien, ¿no? Sí.
días a todos, mucha gente que trabajar hoy, que se les hace la luego cuando se empate.
7-1-1. Sí. Vota.
¿Habéis votado ya o no? Sí. Sí, ahora cuando me diga el compañero del partido.
Ese móvil no puede estar ahí. Ese móvil no puede estar ahí.
A ver.
¿Estamos ya?
El móvil. A lo mejor un poquito. ¿Ahí mejor? Cuando me digáis. Sí, yo. Bueno, lo primero, gracias. Gracias a los medios de comunicación que vais a cubrir una jornada electoral muy importante para nuestro país. Gracias también a los trabajadores y trabajadoras de Correos, a los ciudadanos y ciudadanas que están en las mesas, que van a controlar esta jornada electoral. También a las fuerzas y cuerpos de seguridad del Estado, a los interventores, a las interventoras, a los apoderados. Bueno, yo hace muchos años también fui interventor del Partido Socialista, de todas las organizaciones. En definitiva, gracias a todos los que van a hacer posible pues el que España muestre al mundo y nos mostremos a nosotros mismos lo que somos, una democracia intachable. Y a partir de ahí, pues lógicamente lo único que puedo pedir es la mayor de las participaciones, la mayor de las movilizaciones, porque haciendo eso, que haya movilización, que haya una participación histórica, haremos también que el gobierno que salga de las urnas sea un gobierno fuerte para que España pueda avanzar durante los próximos 4 años. Pues bueno, voy a pasarlo en familia, voy a estar con mi mujer, con mis hijas, con todos mis seres queridos, muy expectante, lógicamente, y pendiente de la evolución de la participación a lo largo de la jornada electoral.
Presidente, ¿cree que va a pasar? Gracias.
A ver, yo no quiero tampoco decir si estoy optimista o no. Tengo buenas vibraciones, pero en fin, son los españoles y españolas los que van a decidir hoy el futuro de nuestro país, el avance de nuestro país y desde luego si hay una voz que hay que escuchar hoy es precisamente la de ellos y la de ellas. Así que lo único que puedo decir hoy es animar a la participación, a la movilización. De verdad, es un momento muy importante para nuestro país. También, lógicamente, pues lo es para nuestra democracia y solamente puedo dar las gracias de nuevo a todos aquellos que hacéis también los medios de comunicación que nuestra democracia sea eso, intachable, ¿no? Hay muchos medios de comunicación internacionales también pendientes, muchos acreditados también en la sede de Ferraz, que es la sede del Partido Socialista, y bueno, eso también significa que lo que vaya a suceder hoy aquí va a ser muy importante, no solamente para nosotros, lógicamente, sino también para el mundo y para Europa. Y yo creo que eso pues tiene también que hacernos reflexionar y bueno, ir a votar. Gracias.
Gracias. Vámonos.
Gracias, feliz día, ánimo. Buenos días otra vez.
Pérez del
Perdonad, vamos a tener que echar la mesa un poquito para adelante.
Muchas gracias, ánimo otra vez. Hola, buenos días. Vamos a echar la mesa para adelante.
¿Os han traído agua?
Nos han dicho que está allí el agua. Buenos días.
Parra, Vidal, Adela Cristina.
Muchas gracias. Hasta luego.
Esto es lo que hay que rectificar para el partido.
Buenos días.
No, vino otro señor.
Yo venía a recogerla. Buenos días. Vaya follón que tenemos. Esta es la 3B.
Falta mucho tiempo todavía, ¿eh?
Si me ayudas por... Ya. Ah, era para ti, perdón.
¿No? Quédatelo.
Vale.
Esta es tres.
Pues muchas gracias. Que pasemos una jornada lo más tranquila posible. Que nos dejen. Y cualquier cosa, estamos aquí para ayudar. Más que para jugar.
No hay botellitas de agua, lo que hay es un dispensador con vasos. Cuando queráis, os traigo. Lo digo porque como hay que llenar. Luego traemos botellas de agua. Cuando ya vengan botellas. ¿Eh? Aquí no se come. Aquí no se come. Ah, sí. Luego. Sí, pero aquí no trae. A vosotros os traen. A nosotros no. Hoy nos toca dieta. No. No preocuparos. Si queréis hacer una botella de agua por ahí.
Que tengo un poco de prisa.
No, pero...
Vota. Vale. Uno, cinco, seis. Martínez, Herrera, José Manuel. 119.
De falta de dirección. Gracias, buenos días. Yo tengo una secretaria. No, si yo voy a
Coja así para poder moverlo. Muiño, Insúa, Juan. 246. 246.
Bien agotado otra vez, ¿no? A pegar cucharazo.
López, Muñoz, Cobo.
Pero estamos hablando.
María Rosario.
¿Qué tal lo llevaría? Ya controlando ya. Yo veo que cada vez lo haces más rápido, ¿eh? Ya más rápido. Lo único que tenemos es que sea visible. Que hay que decirle que lo pongo aquí. Porque lo estamos... No, ahora se... No, cuando venga Carlos. Ahora se lo digo a Carlos.
Hombre, ¿qué tal?
La lotería no me toca, pero
¿Sabes cómo se la mesa? Por las cámaras. Que nos toca siempre votar ahí lo que se
Nobel, Bernias, Salvador.
No sabe quién había ganado. Pues a las 2 de la tarde vais a pasar un calorcito curioso. Bueno, por lo menos salís en la tele.
¡Qué maravilla! ¡Qué día, qué suerte! ¡Que hemos soñado en el museo de historia de nuestra vida! El tiempo, ¿verdad? ¿Esto de quién es? ¿Tuyo?
No lo pierdo.
Hola, buenos días. Miguel Román, María Inmaculada.
es que la otra vez no estaba ni... Igualmente, que tenemos para beber agua.
used to receive testimony from these whistleblowers and report transcripts of their testimony to the full House of Representatives to make that information public. These whistleblowers have gone above and beyond to submit information to Congress in accordance with the law, and we are grateful to them for that. The witnesses can only testify to tax information that has already been released through proper procedures through the Ways and Means Committee. This means that in some instances they may have to decline to answer a question and instead submit additional information to the Ways and Means Committee at a later date through the appropriate process. They are each accompanied by counsel to address questions that arise on Section 6103 and are not present today to provide testimony or answer members' questions. I ask members to respect that process and requirements of Section 6103 and look forward to hearing what our courageous witnesses have to say. Further, due to the complex nature of the matter at hand, each of the witnesses shall have 10 minutes for their opening testimony. I would now like to introduce our witnesses. Mr. Joseph Ziegler is a special agent with the Internal Revenue Service, Criminal Investigation Division, specifically assigned to the International Tax and Financial Crimes Division. This is a group of 12 elite special agents who are subject matter experts in complex international tax and other related crimes. He started his career with the IRS in 2010 as a special agent and has developed and successfully completed a multitude of complex financial investigations. The types of investigations include money laundering, bank fraud, wire fraud, mail fraud, healthcare fraud, violations of the Bank Secrecy Act, income tax evasion, and income tax-related charges, such as identity theft and filing false claims for income tax refunds. Mr. Ziegler has won multiple performance awards throughout his career in recognition for his work. And Mr. Gary Shapley. Mr. Shapley is the Supervisory Special Agent of the International Tax and Financial Crimes Group. Mr. Shapley started his career with the IRS in July 2009. He was detailed to the Department of Justice's Tax Division from 2013 to 2018, investigating foreign financial institutions. He was also assigned to the Joint Terrorism Task Force, working as a task force officer at both the FBI Washington Field Office and the FBI Baltimore Field Office. Mr. Shapley was promoted to Supervisory Special Agent of the Elite ITFC Group in 2018. He also served as the Assistant Special Agent in charge of both the New York Field Office and the Chicago Field Office. I want to again thank both gentlemen for their willingness to come forward and share their testimony today for the members of this committee and for the American people. Pursuant to Committee Rule 9G, the witnesses will please stand and raise their right hands. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Let the record show that the witnesses all answered in the affirmative. We appreciate you being here today and look forward to your testimony. Let me remind the witnesses that we have read your written statements and they will appear in full in the hearing record. Please press the button on your microphone in front of you so that it's on and the members can hear you. I recognize Mr. Ziegler to please begin his opening statement.
Thank you, Chairman Comer, Chairman Smith, Chairman Jordan, Ranking Member Raskin, and members of the committee. Today, I sit here before you not as a hero or a victim, but as a whistleblower compelled to disclose the truth. That said, in coming forward, I believe I'm risking my career, my reputation, and my casework outside of the investigation we are here to discuss. I ultimately made the decision to come forward after what I believe were multiple attempts at blowing the whistle in the Internal Revenue Service, at the Internal Revenue Service. No one should be above the law, regardless of your political affiliation. I humbly view my role here today as providing the facts as I best understood them and to let Congress and the administration and the public consider those facts and determine the best path forward. I recognize why I was present at the start of this investigation and was closely involved with the investigation for roughly 5 years. I'm just a part of the story. Others, including my colleague and Supervisor Gary Shapley, who is here with me today, have their own views and understandings of what took place during this investigation. I've been an agent with the IRS since 2010. In 2007, I received my undergraduate degree from Ohio University, my MBA from John Carroll University. Prior to starting my career at the IRS, I worked at Ernst & Young as an external auditor. Throughout my career with the IRS, I have worked a variety of successful criminal tax and money laundering investigations. In 2018, I transitioned to being a part of the International Tax and Financial Crimes Group out of the Washington, D.C. field office. I was the lead IRS case agent on the Hunter Biden investigation. I've recently discovered that people are saying that I must be more credible because I'm a Democrat who happens to be married to a man. I'm no more credible than this man sitting next to me due to my sexual orientation or my political beliefs. The truth is, my credibility comes today from my job experience with the IRS and my intimate knowledge of the agency's standard and procedures. I was raised and have always strived to do what is right. Although I do have my supporters, others have said that I am a traitor to the Democratic Party and that I am causing more division in our society. I implore you to consider that if you were in my position with the facts as I have stated them, ask yourself if you would be doing the exact same thing. I hope that I am an example to other LGBTQ people out there who are questioning doing the right thing at the potential cost of themselves and others. We should always do the right thing, no matter how painful the process might be. I kind of equate this to the experience and feelings I encountered when coming out. It was honestly one of the hardest things I ever had to go through. I contemplated scenarios that would have been highly regrettable, but I did what is right, and I'm sitting here in front of you today. I would first like to take a minute to thank some people for their unfettered help and support. First off, God, for giving me the strength and courage to get through this process. My husband, who has been my rock, has put up with me, my stress, and has had to deal with his personal information being out there. My attorney, Dean Zerby, who has agreed to represent me through this matter pro bono, and someone who has provided me so much help and guidance. My colleagues from the Hunter Biden investigation. The work that was done on this case is tremendous, but seems to be overshadowed by what is happening here today. And I just want to say to the investigative team that I am thankful for having worked with you. I also want to thank my family and friends back home in Northeast Ohio and Georgia. I don't live in the D.C. area. I had to fly here and have had to pay out of pocket for all my travel-related expenses in being a whistleblower. On that note, I would like to make another statement that I have not accepted a single payment from anyone for being a whistleblower. First, Mr. Chairman, while I have my written statement as well as my testimony before the Ways and Means Committee, I would like to touch on briefly 7 specific matters. First, in a recent letter to Congress, Mr. Weiss stated that he had been granted ultimate authority over this matter, but then later stated in the same letter that his charging authority is geographically limited and that he would need a President Biden-appointed U.S. attorney to partner with him in charging the case. Mr. Weiss stated that he was making all decisions necessary to preserve the integrity of the prosecution consistent with federal law, the principles of federal prosecution, and departmental regulations. In the Criminal Tax Manual, Chapter 10, found on the DOJ website, Tax Division policy states that cases involving individuals who fail to file tax returns or pay a tax, but who also commit acts of evasion or obstruction should be charged as felonies to avoid inequitable treatment. In early August of 2022, federal prosecutors from the Department of Justice Tax Division drafted a 99-page memorandum. In so, they were recommending for approval felony and misdemeanor charges for the 2017, 18, and 19 tax years. That did not happen here, and I am not sure why. And as the special agent on this case, I thought the felony charges were well supported. When considering the elements of felony tax case, under the criminal code, there are 2 key considerations: willfulness and tax due and owing. In the criminal context, willfulness is defined as voluntary, intentional violation of a known legal duty. The tax loss is the monetary loss to the government. In early 2020, Hunter Biden's unfiled and delinquent tax returns were being prepared, which included his 2018 tax return. During the 2020 time period, by Hunter Biden's own account, he was sober, newly married, and writing his memoir. Hunter Biden's accountants requested that he sign a representation letter stating that all the deductions were for business purposes and were being reported appropriately. Statements Hunter Biden made in his book completely contradicted what he was deducting as business deductions on his 2018 return. While writing his memoir, Hunter stated, I holed up inside the chateau for the first 6 weeks and learned how to cook crack. Hunter Biden allegedly falsely claimed business deductions for payments made to the Chateau Marmont, a hotel room for his supposed drug dealer, sex club memberships, falsely referenced on the wire as a golf membership, hotels he was blacklisted from, and a Columbia University tuition payment for his adult daughter. All of these items were used to support the willfulness element for felony tax evasion. These false deductions claimed by Hunter Biden caused a false return to be prepared that underreported his total income by approximately $267,000 and a loss to the U.S. Treasury of $106,000. Second, with respect to the 2014 tax year, Hunter Biden did not report any of the money he earned from Burisma for the 2014 tax year, which would have been a tax loss to the government of $124,000. According to my previous testimony, Hunter Biden did not report this income to the IRS or pay tax on this source of income. There is nothing that I see in the public documents as to the Department of Justice's action against Hunter Biden that indicate that Hunter Biden will be required to pay tax on this Burisma income from 2014 or amend his 2014 tax return. I would like to note that the plea agreement, when released, may provide a greater understanding. Third, I would like to make clear that the charging document for the District of Delaware, Hunter Biden was charged with failure to timely pay his taxes for 2017 and 18 in excess of $100,000 for each tax year. On Hunter Biden's 2017 and 18 tax returns, Hunter reported taxes owed of approximately $581,000 and $620,000 respectively. This tax amount in 2018 would not have included the alleged additional tax due and owing from the filed false return of $106,000. Thus, as I read the public documents as the Department of Justice action against Hunter Biden, there is nothing that indicates Hunter Biden will be required to amend his false tax return for 2018. A false tax return that includes improper deductions for prostitutes, sex clubs, and his adult children's tuition. Again, perhaps when the plea agreement is released, it may provide us with a greater understanding. Fourth, the decision to bring felony counts against Hunter Biden was agreed to by both prosecutors and investigators. In the fall of 2021, I met with prosecutors assigned to the case, and we all agreed and decided which charges we are going to recommend in the prosecution report, which included felony counts related to 2014 and 18. In March of 2022, the prosecutors requested discovery from the investigative team and presented the case to the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office. In later meetings in early August of 2022, the assigned prosecutors, all 4 attorneys, agreed to recommend felony and misdemeanor charges for the 2017, 18, and 19 tax years, insofar as the Department of Justice Tax Division attorney sent an email about the process of bringing charges to include felony and misdemeanor tax charges in 2 separate districts, Delaware and Los Angeles. Less than a month later, Gary Shapley and I met with Mr. Weiss. He stated that he agreed with us regarding the 2014 and 2015 tax year misdemeanor and felony charges, but that this could somehow affect the later year misdemeanor and felony charges that he conveyed were stronger. Despite these facts, the plea deal that is being discussed occurred. To this day, I do not have a reason why that occurred. From my perspective, this might not have been problematic had the investigation been handled in the ordinary course. Fifth, as I had previously testified and is contained in my written testimony, I have outlined for you some instances in which assigned prosecutors did not appear to follow the normal investigative process, slow-walked the investigation, and put in place unnecessary approvals and roadblocks from effectively and efficiently investigating the case. A number of times we were not able to follow the facts. I am happy to respond to questions concerning these instances. Sixth, I will also note that while the impression has been conveyed by the U.S. Attorney in Delaware that he has similar powers to that of a special counsel in this case, free rein to do as needed, that was not the case. It appeared to me, based on what I experienced, that the U.S. Attorney in Delaware in our investigation was constantly hamstrung, limited, and marginalized by DOJ officials as well as other U.S. attorneys. I still think that a special counsel is necessary for this investigation to further handle ancillary investigations that are spun off and relate to Hunter Biden, but may not have venue in Delaware. Lastly, I would like to conclude again by encouraging Congress and the administration to consider establishing an official channel for federal investigators to pull the emergency cord and raise the issue of the appointment of a special counsel for consideration by senior officials. I do not want my colleagues at the IRS, FBI, and other federal law enforcement agencies to go through my frustrating journey and that of our team. I believe such a path will strengthen the public's confidence in their institutions and their fair and equal treatment of all Americans under the law. Thank you, and I look forward to the questions.
Thank you very much. Chair now recognizes Mr. Shapley for his opening statement.
Thank you for inviting me to testify here today. I want to thank every member and staffer on both sides of the aisle who work for the work you do to represent your constituents and hold government accountable. My name is Gary Shapley. I have worked as a special agent for IRS criminal investigation for 14 years. I have risen to become a senior leader in the organization and currently supervise 12 elite agents in the International Tax and Financial Crimes Group. I have worked directly with United States attorneys in multiple districts and have supervised or investigated cases in more than a dozen United States attorneys' offices across the country. I have led, planned, or executed undercover operations or search warrants in more than a dozen countries. I have investigated and managed some of the largest cases in the history of the agency, recovering more than $3.5 billion for the United States taxpayer. In this country, we believe in the rule of law, and that applies to everyone. There should not be a two-track justice system depending on who you are and who you're connected to. Yet, in this case, there was. Based on my experience, I'm here to tell you that the Delaware U.S. Attorney's Office and Department of Justice handling the Hunter Biden tax investigation was very different from any other case in my 14 years at the IRS. At every stage, decisions were made that benefited the subject of this investigation. For example, prosecutors concealed contents of Hunter Biden's laptop from investigators. DOJ slow-walked steps to include interviews, serving document requests, and executing search warrants. Warrants that were ready as early as April of 2020, but were delayed until after the November 2020 election and never pursued. Investigators were not allowed to follow up on WhatsApp messages from Hunter Biden's Apple iCloud backup, where he suggested he was sitting next to his father. Assistant United States Attorney Leslie Wolf cited the optics of executing a search warrant at President Biden's residence as a deciding factor for not allowing it, even though she agreed that probable cause existed. Prosecutors instructed investigators not to ask about the big guy or dad when conducting interviews. The Biden transition team was tipped off about interviews the night before the investigation went overt, a fact my FBI counterpart confirmed to this committee in recent testimony, where the result was that only one witness spoke to investigators that day. These are just some of the examples of how our investigation was stymied. I'm not here to support partisan agendas on either side. I'm here because our tax system relies on the American people having confidence it is administered fairly and equally for everyone, regardless of your last name or political connections. If the handling of this case was inappropriate, it doesn't matter whether it happened under a Republican or Democrat administration. Whether you agree with my concerns about the unethical slow-walking and preferential treatment in this case, you can be sure that my testimony is true and correct to the best of my ability. Unfortunately, the way this has already been handled by some members and the media has done immeasurable damage to future would-be whistleblowers. I have been attacked as incompetent and falsely accused of being a liar, a leaker, or both, all by people who know nothing about me or the facts of this case. Some question if I should even be called a whistleblower, suggesting that my disclosures are not legally protected merely because they don't like what I'm saying. We've seen this shoe on the other foot before, and some Republicans have made the same error, so there's plenty of blame for both sides. The cycle of villainizing or canonizing government employees who report what they believe is wrongdoing has to stop. When I first started noticing deviations from the normal investigative process around June 2020, I did not run to Congress to air grievances. Instead, I documented my concerns and made internal protected disclosures to my chain of command. I tried to give the prosecutors the benefit of the doubt for a very long time. After our investigation had largely concluded by the end of 2021, the IRS recommended charging Hunter Biden with multiple felonies and several misdemeanors for the tax years of 2014 through 2019. The Delaware Assistant United States Attorneys and Tax Division Trial Attorneys supported charging the felonies and misdemeanors listed in Exhibit 2 of my interview transcripts on page 44 and 45, which were officially referred to the Department of Justice Tax Division in February of 2022. This case was presented to the Washington, D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office in or around March